said Elijah represents the light of spiritual doctrine or spiritual teaching. And then he said hands, controls, one on the left and one on the right, one from the soul and one from the mind. So he's got his right hand representing the mind and his left hand on the Quran representing the soul. Now, sounds good, don't it? But I had a chance to talk to the Imam about it. So I said, Brother Imam, I broke it. I said, that picture of you in the fireplace. And I went through, I said, yeah, how did that come about? He said, I was visiting my father. He said, and he had a photographer there and was taking his picture. And when he saw me walk in, he said, son, come on over here and take a picture with me. He said, so I said, okay. He said, and I walked over and I stood there to take the picture. He said, and then the photographer said, why don't you put your hand on his shoulder? And so he said, okay. He put his hand on his shoulder. So then he said, the photographer said, well, there's something, let me see. And the Quran was on the mantelpiece on a stand. And the photographer went over, got the Quran, and brought it back and said, hold this. And the Imam said the Quran was so heavy that he had to hold on to his father's shoulder to keep the balance. But even in that was light. But he said I had to hold on my father's shoulder to keep the balance. And that's what the young man was telling us earlier. We got to keep the balance. You can't be walking through Harlem with no slippers to our brothers and sisters who don't know Arabic. That's right. They're looking for guidance. They don't even understand what you're saying. That's right, brother. Then what's the point? You're just showing off. That's right. That's what it is. Imam Muhammad said we have identity crisis. And that's all that's still part of an identity crisis. What Imam Muhammad has given us should lead us to a unique identity in the world. Come on. And the knowledge he has given us can take us to a place where we can straighten out a lot of the madness that's in the world. I tell Caucasians, I said, I'm a recovering racist. They laugh, but I'm serious. I say I'm a recovering racist. I said, and every time I think I'm cured, you'll do something to That's all right. You know that's the truth. Like the brother said, we want to be humanity is one. My book, I put out my book last year. I sold it at the convention. I'll be at the convention this year. To be human. I got this from Imam Muhammad. To be human. Because that's what it's all about. But it's not just to be human at the expense of your history and who you are. That's part of being human. It is not intelligent to be other than who you are and be human. I was looking, a lot of damage was done to me as a kid, man. I mean, when you grow up, it's a blessing for the Imam and anybody like that young man that was brought up in the Nation of Islam, where people valued your mind. See, that's a heavy thing, man. Most African Americans, even the ones that send their kids to college, they don't see the value of that. That's right. They don't think it's necessary for them to control the minds of their children to the point that they make sure what goes in is what they want to go in. Now, I retired as an administrator in education, and they got a thing called curriculum alignment. Curriculum alignment means they want to make sure that from K through 12, everything is aligned to the objective. They know what the product they want at the 12th grade. But they can't start at the 12th grade, they got to start at the kindergarten. And they want everyone on each grade level to be on board as to what the mission is. So each one, if they're teaching that kid English, each level of the grade level is bringing in a little more English so that by the time they get to the 12th grade, they have completed their objective. And when they trained us as school board members, I was also a school board president. And as a school board member, they taught us, they sent us up the state of New York, sent us up for training. They said, education has three main purposes. Custodial care, meaning somewhere for your kids to be while they send you to work. They said that's where education, the school building started because they needed the parents to go to work, but they need somewhere for the children to be. So the first objective of a school is custodial care. The next objective is to sort, listen to this, test and sort for industry. Test and sort for industry. Because industry doesn't want to find out who the dumbest dude is. They don't want to spend the money. So the school district is going to start testing and sorting the kids. So by the time they get through there, they can pick the cream of the crop. And then they said, and the final thing is to impart knowledge. But now they choose what knowledge. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, no, you're not going to choose the knowledge to go in my child's mind. I will decide what goes into my child's mind. And that was the beginning of us breaking out of the box. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and that whole movement got us to think outside the box. So what happened to Imam? You know, let me go. The Imam taught me something here. I had to go into the box. I said, so now I reflected on the box. I said, what is it about a box? A box has 8 sides. So if I got you in the box, what are some of the 8 things that I need to control? The former slave, we have to control his physical needs. We have to control his relationships. We have to control his language. We have to control his aspirations. We have to control his history. We have to control his self-perception. And we have to control his perception of God. And they control all those things. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started us to think outside the box. And, you know, when you're able to think outside the box, now you're looking back at the box. And when you go outside the box, I have to give credit to a brother in the masjid, and I want to bring this up. I hope I don't forget my place, but we have a Taaleem circle after June. All masjids should have that. It ain't enough for us to come and hear talking head and leave. We are all believers. We all have something to say and contribute. So when you have a Taaleem circle, we sit down with the sisters, some of them are here, brothers who are here. We sit in a circle and we bust atoms all afternoon. Sometimes we start out, at 2 o'clock the Imam is finished. We leave there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And brothers leave and they say, you know, brother, I feel regenerated. I feel good. Why? Because we sat there and we talked about things. We talk about what's going on in the